Welcome to the Purpose Focused Advisor, a podcast for financial planners, advisors, and RIAs looking to get the most out of yourself and your business. Join Rob Brown and Phil Calandra as they walk you through a journey that will allow you to take action in your business and your life so you can be the best that you can possibly be. Now here are your hosts, Rob and Phil.
Welcome back to the Purpose Focused Advisor. Rob Brown here. My co-host Phil is away today, so he's given me permission to take control. But that should be easy today because I have with me Brad Williams, a wealth advisor with the Highland Wealth Group, or Highlands Wealth Group, down in Greenville, South Carolina. We're both deciding that it is very hot where we both are today. I'm up in Virginia, and we're getting close to 100 with a lot of humidity. But anyway, Brad is down in Greenville. He's in his 15th year in the industry and made a big change back in 2021, opening up his own independent firm. And so we're going to center our conversation today around some of that transition and why Brad does what he does and how that can help those of you who are listening to the podcast out as you're growing your practices. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. I'm happy to be here.
So let's dive right in, Brad. And I mentioned just a second ago your transition to running your own independent firm, and that was coming out of, as I understand it, a bank setting. So you went from the bank advisor to opening your own shop. Talk a little bit about why you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, I had the option coming out of college. I had worked for a team with Morgan Stanley in Columbia, South Carolina, and I didn't want to come straight out as an advisor. I just didn't have the family history or the background or the connections that I felt to be successful at 22 years old and bringing in new business. You know, I'm a first generation college student. I had the opportunity to learn a lot about financial planning through that internship. And so the path that I took was I took a position with a leadership program with a larger bank here in the Southeast. And that led me into the private banking arena. And so I moved around North and South Carolina working for a couple of different teams and got to experience what it's like to be part of a team that services high net worth families, specifically business owners. And I supported financial advisors. I supported probably in the neighborhood of 200 financial advisors through every aspect of their process. I was part of the introduction meetings. I was part of the recommendation meetings. I saw the good, the bad, the ugly, the great ones, the not so great ones, and learned a ton about how different advisors do business. And in those final years in the banking arena, I had a vision for what I felt would be the ideal financial planning business. And my partner, Terrell Boone, was a financial advisor with the same bank at the time. And he and I really shared the same vision. And so a lot of conversations were had about how we could execute that. And it came to be very clear to us that we wouldn't be able to do that where we were. And so we started to do some research on some things that might be a better fit. And we ended up going the route of starting our own independent firm tucked under a parent RIA. We're working with Integrated Financial Group out of the Atlanta area as our RIA, and LPL is our custodian. But ultimately, it just came down to the ability to service our clients where we felt like they needed service without any expectations of a account minimum requirement, without having to have an investment relationship with us at all, for that matter. And so we brought a majority of our book of business with us, which is that traditional wealth management book of business, early retirees, investment-based revenue stream, but we developed a financial planning program where folks can pay us for that advice without any expectation of bringing that investment relationship. So we offer both. We do manage investments, but I like to say it's not the key that unlocks the door to the robust planning experience that we really feel sets us apart. And we've been able to create that process from scratch, and we feel like it is carefully crafted now to help our clients at any stage of life be able to take advantage of the time that they have now while knowing that they're making the right moves to secure the future, so that we're not sacrificing as much as we have to sacrifice to get to that later in life goal. I always say a lot of life happens before retirement, so we've got to plan for that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And something that really jumped out to me as you were talking about your transition and kind of creating this ideal financial planning environment that would serve your clients in a way that really met what you feel the needs of those clients are based on your experience, was that
Mhm.
you really talk about it as being something unique, something that not every financial planner does. And I think that's important. I think that's critical to be successful, because as much as advisors can all use in large part the same investments or the same technology or financial planning tools, it's the
Yeah.
way that those are applied by the unique advisor with his or her background to that unique client group. So talk about what that vision was, and how that's turned into what you just called robust planning.
Yeah. With the experience that I had supporting so many different financial advisors at a couple of large firms, I got to see what it's like to have a proprietary process, a process that's designed to gather investment statements, do a risk analysis of those statements, have a conversation about attitudes towards risk, and then ultimately make a recommendation for a portfolio. To me, that's only one small part of financial planning. And we didn't have the ability to go as deep as we really felt like we ought to be going for the types of clients that we work with. And so going independent allowed us to create this process that touches every decision in our client's life that has some sort of financial component to that, which ultimately is really just decisions about life in general, because money is unfortunately the fuel that powers a lot of the things that we want to do and accomplish in our life. So we have to think about it. And so to go from purely being investment managers to really being fully consultative around income tax issues, planning for how do we minimize the lifetime income tax liability of every client that we work with, to let's review the entire, suite of accounts to make sure that everything's titled correctly, that their estate plan is properly implemented, that if they don't have the proper documents, that we're collaborating with them and estate planning attorneys to ensure that their wishes are met when they pass away. Then to go even further in that, to one of the things that my clients appreciate most, may have one of the least financial impacts, it's a review of their property insurance, to have a conversation about, oh, your personal property coverage is way too high on your homeowner's policy, or your underinsured, protection is way too high on your auto. Those kinds of things and those strategies that can adjust a premium slightly and save them a couple $100 a year in insurance premiums. They love that because no one's ever had that type of conversation with them before. And then just to be available throughout the year after we've developed an initial plan, began to put that plan in action, to have our clients understand that the only certainty is that things are going to change. Their circumstances will change, personal circumstances, financial circumstances. And so they know they have access to a partner in us to talk through ideas. I'm thinking about putting this big addition on my house. Should I do a distribution from my inherited IRA to do that, or is there a better source of funds to make that happen? We can talk about those things so that they feel empowered and confident that any financial decision that they're making in real time is done with some sort of actual logic behind it, and a complete understanding of their entire financial picture.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you went into that detail because I believe there's a danger in the financial planning business right now because the tools are so incredible that you can use to put a plan together. The financial markets have been so good. There's been a lot of wind
Sure.
in our sails that you can, as a financial planner, and maybe not even do this intentionally, but do it unintentionally. You can say to a new person coming in, "Hey, tell me what you have. I'll throw it into my software. I'll spit out an asset allocation, and boom, you've
Yeah.
got a financial plan." And in doing that, lose touch with really getting to know
Yeah.
that client
Yeah.
and who they want.
Absolutely.
And I think that there's a danger to the industry, for people who are afraid of, fee compression or, uh,
Sure.
uh, uh, you know, uh, increased regulation, whatever it might be. Those things can't touch you if you're doing the in-depth type of work that you're talking about and have a system to do it so that you can do it in a way that you're able to do it to the scale that you want to, because it also takes time. So it's not an inexpensive process to lead a client through.
That's absolutely right, Rob. And I always say charts and graphs do not a financial plan make. We love our software and we love the tools that we have that aid us in the process of analyzing data, making that simpler for us and putting into a format that's simpler for our clients to understand. But at the end of the day, it's that component of having both the understanding of the quantitative factors of their life but also the qualitative factors of their life to be able to say, look, I can have two people that have exactly the same financial circumstances, same age, same income, same amount of savings, same life expectancy, but on some certain financial issue that they're facing, I might give those two people different advice because of the personal circumstances, their values, their goals, the things that are affecting them in that day to day life that might be different from someone else. And so that's where I think the key is in having that personal component, having that advisor, not necessarily rely on the software to put the outputs out, but to be able to interpret those outputs through the lens of that individual scenario.
Right. And that, I think, from my vantage point, really speaks to how you can put purpose into your business because you're helping people think about what their purpose is in their life and putting that plan together and then working with you. And when you can really focus on the purpose behind what you're doing with authenticity and intentionality, um, your business is more successful because you're having success with your clients.
No, I'd certainly hope so. And what I find time and time again in those initial conversations, if you put a blanket question out there to say, "Tell me about your financial goals," there's often that question is often met with silence. Because what I find is that people don't necessarily have financial goals in our initial conversation. What they have are ideas, things that they would like to happen in their life, things that they would like to do, whether that's, you know, purchasing a second home or retiring at a certain age. But those ideas are not specific enough in that initial meeting to be able to really call them goals, in my opinion. And so to have the expertise of a financial planner who's seen other people go through it or gone through it themselves gives that client the ability to have someone help them form those ideas into actionable goals that we really can solve for through the process of financial planning.
That's great. That's great. So let's switch gears, Brad. Um, Sounds like you run a great practice. You're very intentional about who you serve and how you serve them. What's been the key to success in growing your business and making this transition that you did to form Highlands to now being, 3 years into it and having had a lot of success in building what you and your partner have built?
Yeah, absolutely. In the first year, I would say that we underestimated the challenge of creating processes, sifting through the huge stack of options when it came to technology, creating our voice, building up our branding, all those things. And so I would say a majority of our clients that we had previously did come with us, but we didn't grow that much in the first year because we focused so much time on getting that message correct, building that financial planning process, making sure it was really something we felt like we could stand by when we go out to the marketplace and we're talking about what we do and the value we add. And so once we really got that to a point that we felt comfortable, and that's something we're always continuing to improve. I'm not saying it's perfect, but growth really began happening primarily through referrals from our existing clients and through other partnerships we have in the community. um, because our clients started seeing that we're doing a lot more for them than we've ever done before. We're doing a preliminary tax return review for them every year. We're having conversations with their CPA, so we're meeting more CPAs because of that. We're digging much deeper in terms of their insurance needs, not just health insurance, life insurance, but also property insurance, disability insurance. We're participating in their lives as it's happening to a degree that we were never able to before going independent. So that's number one. Number two is since this past November, I've been dedicating a lot of my marketing efforts on social media. I made a commitment back in November that I would post once a day on LinkedIn for a year without any expectations of what would happen. And I've been really surprised by the results. I've been able to grow a much larger following. I've been able to onboard about 7 new clients already in 2024 from leads that are directly from social media. And even more interestingly than that, I've been able to build relationships with other folks in the financial planning community that are helping me get better. The culture where we came from before in the large firm environment was advisors didn't really support each other. They didn't really try to help one another be better. There was internal competition along with external competition, and that's just the way it was. And that's the way I thought it was supposed to be amongst people in the industry of financial
Mhm.
advice. But
Sure.
what I have found through this presence on LinkedIn is that there is a very vibrant community of financial planners who do business similarly to the way that we do business. And they are extremely supportive of one another. They're all rooting for each other and they're all willing to share and help each other. So I never thought that I would get better by paying attention to other folks that do what I do on LinkedIn, but I certainly have. And that's helped me to get a better sense of the voice that I want to project out to the world in terms of how I can help. I want to share real actionable financial education on LinkedIn, because not everybody can afford to be the client of a financial planner, but they can certainly learn a lot from the content that's being put out there by myself and other financial planners like me. And then it's allowing me to identify resources out there that are excellent resources for my clients, which helps me improve our overall client experience because I'm locating other people out there that do things that we don't do that our clients need. And we advise around, but we use those strategic partners and those relationships to help our clients do it. And so I have been very, very surprised by the level of response that I've gotten from taking a crack at social media, but it all came down to being original, sharing my true voice, getting personal, and but at the same time keeping it simple. I always thought I'd have to create these really interesting visuals and other things to be successful on social media, but I just post about things that I'm really helping my clients out with almost in real time. If you see me post about something, it's probably because I had a conversation with one of my clients about that very subject yesterday. And so it's more stream of consciousness in that way, I guess. But it has been a really neat journey so far, and I'm not that far into it, but very much learning. But am happy with the results and how it's improved me. It's helped get me in front of more people, and it's made our process even better for our clients.
Yeah. That's awesome. Because, well, first of all, you wouldn't, and you admitted this, you wouldn't necessarily think that LinkedIn would be a place that you could go to learn how to be better at what you do.
Yeah.
But because there is a huge community of financial advisors on LinkedIn, if you connect with them and do it in the right way, um, that can happen. So I think that's awesome, and I think that's something really important for our audience to think about. Are you, ask yourself, are you on LinkedIn just to be there, or are you on there to do something? And one thing you can do is get more engaged in the community of advisors, because most advisors do want to help each other out. It's not like what I consider to be the old days when I grew up, where
Yeah.
you were, you were trying to figure out how you could climb higher in the rankings, so you didn't want to help somebody else out because then they might leapfrog you, and that would be bad. But that's not really the way the world works. I don't think, at least not with the financial advisors that I hang out with. But number two,
Yeah.
and I think this is another big takeaway for the audience, you said, I want to make LinkedIn work. You probably thought to yourself, I really don't know how. There are a lot of people out there telling you how. They've got courses and coaching and all sorts of things going on. But when you look into them, there's really not much system to it. It's just isolated cases of success that they then want to. Some people want to help you believe will be the guarantee to have success. You did something that I think is much better than trying to kind of buy the bright shiny object course. You said, "Hey, I'm just going
Yeah.
to get on here and I'm going to do it." And every day I'm going to post something and share something that's of value. And I'm going to do that not by trying to imagine some great topic that's going to go viral. I'm just going to share the kind of conversations that I, as a financial planner, am having with my clients, so that if other people are out there who could be your clients, are looking for solutions to the same problem, they know that, hey, Brad's done that. I should reach out to him. And that is going to multiply itself. I can guarantee you that if we talk in November after your first year is up, that 7 clients that you've brought in so far through your outreach is going to be another 7, maybe another 14. It's going to have there's like a multiplier effect to what you're doing. So just
Yeah.
go out there, take action, share some stuff with the people that you've decided to connect with.
Yeah, I think that that's completely true. I think that there is some exponential component to that as far as the growth is concerned. And what I found initially is that the first opportunities that I received from a standpoint of potential new clients were people who already knew me in some way, either through networking or through church or former coworkers. They knew me, but they didn't really fully understand what I do. And after following me for a month or two and seeing the types of posts I was making, something that I said resonated with them. And they're like, you know what? I really ought to talk to Brad about that. And that's what they told me when they called me. And to at some extent, I was like, man, I've really done a poor job of letting people know, just in my, networking circles and things about what I do. But what's really happening, because now a lot more of the folks that I'm talking to are people that I had no connection to prior to starting this, is that trust building process that's so important for financial advisors, financial planners, what have you, can begin before the advisor is even aware of the prospect, because they're out there consuming your content, they're reading what you're posting. They may never comment on it, they may never like it, you may have no idea that they exist, and then suddenly they reach out and they say, hey, I really enjoy the kinds of things that you talk about. You seem like exactly the kind of person that I need to help me with this problem. And you don't have to pitch yourself at that point, because they already know your value proposition, because they've been following you for so long and they've seen what you're about already. And that makes an initial meeting so much more productive to come to a mutual determination as to whether working together really is a good fit for both of us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that just is proof of the fact that when you're out there in the marketplace at the time that you may be talking to a large audience, there are only 2 or 3% of the people out there who need what you have when
Mhm.
they hear it from you the first time. So that repetition increases the percentage of people who understand that you can offer what they want. And then you're going to be there when they run into that problem, because they're going to be thinking themselves, I've been getting better information, better help from Brad for free through my LinkedIn news feed than I'm getting from the people that are supposed to be giving me financial planning advice in the first place. So that's why they call you, because they've had, 7, 8, 9, 10 times where they've interacted with you on a topic that is important to them, because they're changing jobs and they need help with their 401k, or something's happened to someone in their family and they need some help with the estate, or whatever it might be. And so that's really, really important. And that's why I like I said, I can say with confidence, based on what I'm hearing you say you're doing, it's going to have a way of growing exponentially. Let's switch gears one more time. So you've got this great business that you've built. Um, you're growing it. You're finding some new ways to grow it. You're excited about what you're doing. What's next? What are a couple of, and let's maybe do this a little bit more rapid fire, a couple of goals that you have for the next stage of success in your business?
Yeah, I think that my number one goal right now is to not lose steam. Because I think that it's really easy to be doing some good things and then to let something else distract you from that. Um, the consistency of what we're doing, not only from a standpoint of posting daily on social media, but the consistency of working our our client experience, the way that we go about following up with our clients, the meetings that we have each year. you know we're 3 years in, a little over 3 years into this business, and we really feel like we've just really gotten that process to a place that's great. But we want it to continue to be great. And so having stamina and momentum, and figuring out how to do that while growing, making everything scalable, that's the number one goal. So a keen focus on that. And then number two, it's for me, it's always about how am I using this business to be a better man, a better citizen in the community, a better husband. And I've got a 13-month little girl, and I want to be the best dad that I can possibly be. And so the goal is to always manage our time such that we can maximize all those areas. And I think being independent really helps us do that. We had a really difficult season in our lives, in my family, in 2022, 2023. My wife and I both lost our fathers in a period of about 6 months. 4 months after that, we had our first child. Then we lost a great aunt and a grandfather. Um, that was a lot of turmoil in our lives, but being independent allowed me to be the man that I needed to be for my family during that time. I didn't have to worry about, how much, sick leave or paid time off, or I didn't have to worry about can I really use all that I have without worrying about what that's going to mean for sales goals and other pressures and things like that. I had the support of my business partner. I had the support of the RIA firm that we're tucked under, which allowed me to have the flexibility I needed to do what I needed to do to heal the way that I needed to heal. And we grew more than we'd ever had in 2023, despite that, because of what a healthy situation it was, both personally and professionally. And so I want that to be our focus as a business going forward, that's who we are, because if that's who we are, we can transition that culture, that attitude, that message to our clients, because we want them to live their best life also. We want them to have financial flexibility, personal flexibility, and the confidence and understanding that they need to be able to make hard decisions when hard decisions are when they're faced with those hard decisions. And we can't do that unless we are doing that ourselves. And I think that transitioning that message from us personally as business owners, as people, to the process for our clients just improves their quality of life. Because for me, it's a lot more than just financial strategies and money moves. It's about improving every aspect of life to optimize that, because we talk about our clients reaching their ideal view, finding that way to get on the path of their ideal life, so that throughout that journey they've got a partner, and we're understanding them well enough to be able to allow them to confidently live that life. But that starts with us, and we have to be focused on that for ourselves as well.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, Brad. And I think that's a good place where we can begin to land the plane here, because what you just said was so vitally important. And I see this over and over again in the people that we work with, those who really have, and I don't want to overuse the term, purpose behind what they're doing. And that purpose begins, you have to begin by thinking about how you can be your best. And if you can think about your purpose, what is going to help me grow and be my best as a business owner, as a father, as a husband, as a servant in the community, trying to do good things for other people. If you mind those things really well, then that gives you the opportunity to bring out the best in others, and that's the clients and the family and everything else that you're doing. And maybe just, and I don't want to sound trite, but just a little bit like posting on LinkedIn every day. If every day you're working to be your best and bring out the best in others, things take care of themselves. Yes, you still need systems. You can't let your independence run wild. There has to be some
Yeah.
discipline that goes with that freedom, but that's part of being your best, understanding where the discipline comes into play. It's analyzing, of the posts that I've made on LinkedIn over the course of the last year, which ones have had the greatest impact, so I can do more of those and do less of those that have had less impact. And so there's that channeling and that accountability that you have, for yourself, or maybe others have with you if you're, working with somebody who's kind of looking
Mhm.
over your shoulder. So I think that's vital. Any last thoughts to add? Something else here at the end that you'd like to share with the audience, Brad?
I think that the only thing that I would share is that for anyone who has a true heart for comprehensive advice, and that they don't feel like they're able to put together a system that allows them to work with the types of people that they want to work with, or give the type of advice that they want to work with. Our industry has opened up tremendously in terms of the ability to create a customized practice, to really create that experience that fits you. We didn't know if our vision for the ideal financial planning practice was a possibility. We didn't know that there were others out there who shared the same sort of idealism that we had. But by having the courage to think about it and to do some research, and have some conversations, it empowered us to make a leap, which was a scary thing to do, without any kind of certainty of who was going to follow us, what that would look like, how long would it take to grow. My poor wife, I always say, the first several years of our marriage, I made a little less money than I had the year before, but without my wife's support, I never could have done this. And now we're trending in the right direction again, as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
But it has been fulfilling. It has been rewarding. It has reinvigorated my love for what I do. Just to be able to be honest with myself and say, I'm meant to practice in this way. I'm meant to help people in this way. And I have to listen to that little voice in my head and say, how can I do it? And that's exactly what we did. And we have loved every second of it.
Yeah, that's terrific. It's a real inspiration. It's, and it, in some ways it sounds simple, and maybe in many ways it is, but the challenge comes in accepting it as a challenge and actually doing it. Because I've been in and around this business for a long, long time, and the vast majority of advisors that I meet are in this because they want to do good for others.
100%.
They end up making more money than they ever thought they could, because this is just a business that can be highly profitable. But then you take a step back and you go, but now I've turned this into doing something to help other people, to figure out how I can stack the chips, how I can keep adding more and more money.
Sure.
And that takes something away from it. But taking the
Yes.
step back and asking yourself some of the questions that you asked as you made your transition, and then as you've refined it,
Yes.
is really, really important, because it's really a never-ending process. Well, Brad, I want to call it a show there, because I think we've left the audience with a lot of really good things to think about. I want to encourage others to take these ideas. There are 4 or 5 ideas in here that if you just stopped and took, a half an hour and thought about how you could apply them to your business, I promise you can make your business stronger. And that goes from some of the purposeful things that Brad has talked about, right, to, posting on LinkedIn every day and saying, hey, I want to make this social media thing work, and not have to try to reinvent the wheel. There's just so much there. So Brad, thank you for your openness. Thank you for your sharing. I look forward to continued conversations with you, and to our audience. I want to thank you all for listening in. And as always, I want to remind you that we're rooting for your success. See you next week.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Purpose Focused Advisor. If you want to learn more, head over to our website, truestfancoaching.com. There you'll learn all about becoming a purpose-focused advisor. You'll also find today's show notes and links to the other gifts and resources we talked about during the episode. Again, thanks for listening, and remember, we're rooting for your success.